welcome everybody. Good afternoon. This is our sunset safari here at Djuma Game Reserve, and this is going to be also my last safari, I'm sorry to say. But not my last safari, well, not WildEarth's last safari, mine. And, well, we've got a lot to do this afternoon. We've got a lot to cover. We've got a lot of things to see. My name is Marc. Andrew is back from leave. Welcome back, Andrew.
Hello.
Hello. Had some fun down in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes.
Did you get to Tembe Elephant Park?
No, I didn't manage to get to Tembe.
But Louis, did you see some ellies?
Yes.
Good. It's always important. Andrew's just back from leave. Andrew's on camera with me this afternoon. Liam and James are on the other vehicle, and they'll be joining you shortly. For the time being, you with me. And I'm starting this afternoon, because it's my last drive, because I've spent some time here at Djuma, and I've spent a lot of time with WildEarth. I've decided that this afternoon, although we're going to be doing what we do every day. We're looking for animals. We want to give you some excitement from the African bushveld. But there are a lot of you out there that have been with us for a long time and have enjoyed some of the really fantastic moments that we've had in time here at Djuma Game Reserve. So I'm going to stay on Djuma this afternoon. We're starting here on quarantine, and we're going to start talking about some of the things that we've seen in the past, some of the most amazing moments that we've had. And I think one of the most important things about this open area that we call quarantine, there are two things: elephants and leopards. And leopards, because every single morning when we leave camp, there was always this, maybe there's going to be a leopard on quarantine, because the quarantine, this open area that we live next to, is dotted with some really magical and really big marula trees, and they're kind of the ideal trees for leopards to lie in, or leopards to take their kills up. And especially because this open area is a good place for animals to congregate on in the evenings, it's a really great place for some of the predators to hunt. So from that point of view, we've always wondered what we're going to find on quarantine when we wake up in the morning. And I can never forget some moments of leaving Djuma and not checking what's on quarantine, and finding out maybe a half hour, an hour later, that we had Induna on a juvenile wildebeest kill or something like that. But the other thing about quarantine is sort of towards the mid to late summer months, when the marula fruits start fruiting, and with all these beautiful big marula trees, the marula fruits litter the ground, and we get this succession of elephant bulls, a few cow groups, a few family groups, and matriarchal groups that come through. But essentially it's the bulls that almost race here. It's almost like there's a competition to get here, because whoever gets here first gets to get the best crop. And we've even had times when some of these ellies that come to quarantine actually headbutt the marula trees to shake off the marula fruits. It is a bit of a fallacy that they get drunk on the fruits. That doesn't really happen, but they really do like them. And then although they eat an inordinate number of marula fruits, they are little round fruits that have a fairly big stone, so there's not really much fruit on the fruit. It would take hundreds and hundreds of fruits to even get them remotely tipsy. But also because so many of those fruits actually just pass through the digestive system and aren't even acted on by the digestive system, so it doesn't even get into the bloodstream. So I want to drive up and down quarantine. I want to go up this way. We're going to come back another way, because I want to go around Djuma this afternoon. I want to reminisce about some of the amazing places and some of the amazing things that we've seen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you where we're going to be going. We're going north. That's why it's a bad place to start, but we're on the southern end of quarantine. I want to go up this way onto quarantine, and then come back down from that little road that comes off of Zoe's Road, along the western side of quarantine. And I want to go down, and I know this is a really long-term plan, and I'm hoping that some animal is going to divert us from this plan, but in case that doesn't happen, Weaver's Nest, because I want to get to a dead tree that Sharon asked me about, where a python used to spend the winter, and I think that's my aim for this afternoon, is to sort of get there, and then we'll see where we go from there. The long-term idea is that we'll get around Djuma. We'll try and get to see, hello Monarch butterfly, remind me on that one. Of course, we've got James out there with Liam, and they're going to be finding stuff, and I hope that we're going to be cutting to them a lot when they find some animals, and well, I hope we do too. But between the two of us, we're going to entertain you this afternoon, Monday afternoon here in Africa. And I hope you're going to enjoy. Remember, questions at wildearth.tv if you want to send an email, or hashtag Safari Live if you're a tweeter, if you're a tweet, if you're a, what do you call it? A tweeter.
Twitterferian.
A Twitterferian. Join us, let's go for a drive. My last for now. And whilst I am leaving for now, I am hoping that over time, with the way WildEarth is growing and getting really well ensconced in a new sort of direction of TV, because TV up until now has only just touched on a little bit of what reality TV really is, but there's nothing like reality TV like what we do here, where there is interactive. There is no reality TV that is as interactive as what we can produce in terms of wildlife. Anyways, to start with, I've just seen a monarch butterfly. There's one actually flitting behind us, and that's one. And already, the first thing that comes to mind driving next to this termite mound is once upon a time there were some sage plants towards the end of summer. There's a spider web. I don't know, can you see it glowing there? That little patch of white is actually a funnel web spider, and almost right there was some sage, some wild sage that was growing, and there was a particular moment, I think it was only a few days, and I can't remember where it was. I think Seb was with me on camera, and there were probably a couple of hundred monarchs flitting around, and they were probably getting minerals out of the plant. And we actually managed to get the camera off of the vehicle. I think Marc Williamson was here at the time, Marc from Australia, Marc and Laura. And we had the camera off of the vehicle driving through this cloud of monarch butterflies. And that is so unusual for Africa, because we don't have a migration of monarch butterflies as you do in North America, for example. Our monarch butterflies are here all year round. So this is quarantine. This is an open area that has every single tree here probably has a memory, almost. I can remember just up here. In fact, there's a log. If we can, I can't see it now. Never mind. But there's a big log here that was our original, our first fireside chat place from this series. But earlier on in the days, we were never here for fireside chat. But there was somewhere up here, maybe near that fallen tree over there, beyond that jackalberry, that lovely dark green tree, that's the jackalberry, where we did find Djuma here early one morning, and we actually found the leg of a baby wildebeest. That was summer of probably 2000, probably December of 2000, and if it was in Djuma, it would have been 2010, 9 or 10, it would be 9. Djuma was one of Karula's cubs, by the way. If you're joining us for the first time now, I'm going to be talking about things that it might confuse you, or you might not know, and I hope that I can give you a little bit of history. But there are a lot of long-term viewers that have been with us for a long time, and a lot of you will know exactly what I'm talking about. We're listening to some Aramark babblers that are doing what babblers do, off to the left. Lone Impala ram to my right. Now the babblers have stopped. They're in that marula that Andrew's showing you now. Can't get too close on them. Aramark babblers, they live in colonies, and sometimes when they meet up with other colonies, they actually have these babbling competitions, as you can start hearing now. Oh, and some green woodapus that just flew away. They can compete for sound. There go the green woodapus competing. There are two families of babblers here right now, actually. There's the one in the marula tree that we're looking at now, and there's another family up in one of the cluster leaf, the silver cluster leaves further on. With the green hoopoo, there they are, the green woodapus arriving to add their cackling laughter with a squirrel. What's that? I can see something with a wing. Wing of there's a hornbill in the lower left of the screen. I just saw it stretching a wing and wasn't sure what that was. Babblers. And now Woodoopoos. Are you going to cackle? I can see a lovely big kudu bull walking along the top end of quarantine. So we're going to continue. I've got to pass one of the training vehicles quickly. Lee Guttridge is here. He's doing some training with some guides. And I'm going to get past him. So I've got to have a chat quickly. Hello, Diana. Good. Sorry, I can't stop. Hi, everybody. Good luck. Beautiful big kudu bulls. One of them is actually horning a tree. He's actually starting to, looks like he's going at it with a buffalo thorn even. And you know what? It's quite remarkable. We haven't seen them for so long. These are two of the kudu bulls that we've been seeing in a group during the summer months. Because I can recognize his spread, and I'm sure a lot of you can recognize it too. And the other bull that's a little bit left of him with a much narrower spread. And what I want to do is I want to go back onto Vuyatela Access Road, come around onto that little track that comes past Front, hopefully get a better view from there. But looking into the sun right now, we're a little bit far. I don't want to disturb them, so we're going to just drive around. Look, see that marula tree over there, Andrew? The one that's fallen down. I can remember when that was ring barked. I mean, that must have been ring barked a few months ago. I mean, years ago, back in 2009 or 10. I remember that marula tree dying, actually. Looking for longhorn beetles, wood borer beetles, giant longhorns, giant click beetles. Here's a baby plover. There's the parents. I didn't even know we had some breeding plovers here. Oh, I'm not surprised really. But crown plover or crown lapwing, I think they're called now. One of the parents, and if you just come a little bit forward to the left,
there, on the right.
Yeah. Yes, there. Other left. But there's the baby. And the other adult was the one you were watching, and I was watching the other adult. That's why I said left, but you were on the other one. And that's why it was right for you and left for me. But there's one of the babies of our very own crown plovers here on, and we didn't even know they were nesting. Well, we could hear them when they were unsettled sometimes. Even at fireside chats, sometimes I could hear them above us talking. But nice to know that they've got at least one chick. That looks already at least a 4 or 5 week old chick. We're starting to get adult colours. half the size of an adult, but it's looking pretty healthy. Catching its own food. The little tree is, I think, a little rain tree, little apple leaf. And just beyond the little apple leaf are the masts from Vuyatela Lodge. And sort of shows you where we are in relation to the lodge. Quarantine is right next to camp, and so often we would actually hear things happening out here and come and investigate. It is an artificially cleared area, it always has been, and whilst there are some new trees growing that do get to become trees, for the most part it is here to accommodate a lot of the herbivores that need and prefer open areas in the evenings, because it is quite a thing to have to spend the time in thick bush, with, as dense as it can be with the bush willow and a lot of the vegetation that we get here. You have to spend all of that time at night being nervous about every little thing that moves, and not being able to see each other. We've talked about in the past the markings of all the animals and how it's so important that they engage in more of a hello, Opa. More of a visual communication rather than an audio or a verbal communication. And that's what a lot of their markings are for. And so when you're in this kind of thick bush, especially at night, one of the reasons why our black and white are so stark, because it can show individuals what other individuals are doing, how they're behaving. It doesn't really work in bush, it works out in the open areas. It makes for safer environments for the families, for the groups, for the herds. Vuyatela access road, that is Gallagher shortcut. Now, I'm interested to know if anybody was zooming today and who's with us this afternoon. I'm just looking at elephant tracks that crossed, and it's the same group of elephants that we must have found this morning here in the drive. But if you were at Gowrie Dam this afternoon, or in the last few hours, if you were zooming, or if you happen to be on that page watching our live stream from Gowrie Dam, please let us know if you saw anything. Likewise with Arathusa. James at some point has got to venture onto Arathusa. He's got to go and see what it's all about over there. So if there was something at the dam that we could follow up on. The ellies that I saw this morning I was sure were making their way towards Gowrie Dam. Right, complete change of direction. We're now on this little track that runs from Zoe's Road, and it eventually ends up going along the western edge of Quarantine. And it's one of these roads that has a couple of plants that are some of them ubiquitous, but some of them unique to this area. One of them is this little yellow flower that's starting to fade on the monkey pod, the senna. And I'm going to try and find as many flowers as I possibly can this afternoon. Even if I can just show you the plant, and then you can see a picture of the flower if you look at it, and then that might sort of half count as a flower. Like this next one with these little puff balls of cotton, which is cotton family, and it's a really pretty little hibiscus blowing in the wind. You get dwarf hibiscus and you get miniature hibiscus, and then of course you get all the wild hibiscus that we see when it's wetter. But those are the seeds encased in cotton, because the hibiscus is cotton family, or mallow family, the Malvasia. pretty little white, perfectly miniature hibiscus flower. And the cultivated hibiscuses are these really beautiful, big red with the stamens, not the stamens. What's the whole thing called? The anthericum. The reproductive part of the flower sticking out, that yellow little ball of stamens that in the center of those beautiful big petals of a red or a pink hibiscus. But those are obviously cultivated. They come from different parts of the world. Our hibiscuses are either these mostly yellow or these little ones that are white. And then this is the dwarf hibiscus. There's the miniature hibiscus, which is a beautiful crimson color that I haven't found here, but I've found on my friend Clinton's place in Guernsey. Not Guernsey, UK, but Guernsey near Thornybush, part of Thornybush. There was a mongoose that ran away. We saw mongoose here yesterday morning. Hello, Lisa. Thanks for the question. Quite an interesting question that I thought might require a lot of thought, but then actually it doesn't. Lisa's saying all the time that I've spent in the Sabi sand, and it's actually quite a considerable amount of time, considering that I first started in the Sabi sand in the late 80s. I spent a few years here in the southern Sabi sand in the late 80s, what is now Lion Sands. In those days it was Sabi River Lodge. And we had a community of people of note. Steph, who was with us recently, is also an ex-Sabi person, so there's a kind of a subculture about those of us who went to Sabi. Actually, I started at Kulasaba, believe it or not, when it was a very tiny, long before Mr. Virgin Atlantic took it over. That was in my first job in 86, 87, somewhere there. 87. I've spent time in the central part of the Sabi Sands. I've spent time in the northwestern, and now in the northeastern. I've done game counts in the central part, and the question essentially was whether I've noticed any changes, whether they be positive or negative, and ultimately not really. The Sabi sand has always been a very, very tight-knit and very, very conscientious group of landowners that developed this as a private nature reserve already back in the late 50s, and it looks like I could have gone, unfortunately. And up there, right up ahead of us. And since then, the management and the operation of the Sabi sand, which for many, many years was originally actually a self-contained reserve because it wasn't part of the Greater Kruger National Park, and it was only in the 1990s, early 90s, around 92, 93, that it became incorporated into the Kruger. I suppose there have been changes from that aspect, but in terms of my experiences in the Sabi sand, this is nature. It has been here for millions of years. The little lifetime, the short lifetime, the few years that I've spent here are but a blip in the calendar of the overall lifetime of what the Sabi sand is. So there is actually, I'm afraid to say, very little change. There's very little that is different. The animals are still going through the very same dilemmas, the very same struggles, the very same sorry, Kudu and Impala and here mongoose. A world like like this, but that is so many millions of acres, a world like this that is just so incredibly self-regulated, doesn't really change that much over the years. Trees grow, trees die, animals grow. Some get eaten, some don't, some get killed, some don't. There's live and die. It's that part of life that is nature. It's something that leadwood over there would have probably seen a couple of 100 years. It's beautiful leadwood. We were actually asked about living leadwoods because we were talking about dead leadwoods the other day. Beautiful. So, on my afternoon rounds of Djuma to talk about some really wonderful things, I'm going to hand you over to James. I think he's a treehouse dam or something. So we'll go over to James and I'll talk to you in a little while. I'm going to see what else I can find for you. Well, because I haven't found anything yet. But see you just now. Later.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to have you with us. Welcome to Djuma, Arathusa, the Sabi Sands, the Kruger National Park, and the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. 3.5 million hectares of untrammeled African wilderness. Today, as you all realize, is a slightly subdued day because it's Marc's last drive. So you're going to spend most of your time with him, unless Vian and I can find something spectacular. We've got Vian on the camera, and there's his digit. My name is James, for those who don't know. And we're welcome to ask us any questions, of course, on the hashtag at Safari Live or on the email questions@wildearth.tv. We're sitting here at a dam where Mvuda, the leopard, was found this morning, and we're hoping to try and follow up on him during the course of the afternoon. So while you're spending your time with Marc, we're going to try and follow up on the leopard. We've also just been watching some spectacular footage of a African hawk eagle being chased by a juvenile gymnogene just before you came across. Unfortunately, they've flown off at high speed, so you haven't seen them. So we're going to carry on along the wall here and then down and see if we can't pick up some tracks of that leopard, and let's carry on and see what we can see. Hot today, very unusually hot for this time of year. So we don't think the animals would have moved around too much during the middle of the day. Of course, the one animal that does buck that rule is often the leopard. I seem to have been banging on about leopards for the last 3 drives and failed to find any. But I'm sure my luck will change eventually. So the edge is just coming off the heat. We expect to find quite a few animals coming down to drink later on. There's a water buck over there. I'm sure you can see it through. You can just see him over the top of that branch there. I'm going to just go forward and see if we can get around him. As you heard in Brent's last quiz, or one of the quizzes Brent did, that is the emblem of the Sabi Sands. There he is. He's a rather magnificent old fellow. And he's around the water. Waterbuck, a number of misnomers about waterbuck, and one of them being that lions don't eat them. Lions will in fact eat them, but I've even eaten some waterbuck at one stage, and they don't taste bad. But apparently what happens is they've got fairly strong musk glands under the skin, so the meat can get tainted. And so if lions have the choice of other meat, they might perhaps choose to eat it. But waterbuck is definitely a good prey species for lions. A bit big for most of the other predators. But a large pack of wild dogs would take one, and certainly a pack of hyenas would. He's sitting there just chewing his cud, enjoying the soporific nature of the heat. Before he gets up, I'm sure he'll graze again as we go into the evening. Right, let's press on a little bit. Over here briefly, sitting on top of this termite mound. I think most of our viewers at the moment are in the States, and if they aren't, I'm sorry for this, but I know that termites are a big problem for building in the States, but I don't think that they build mounds quite like this anywhere else in the world. This termite mound is we're probably only seeing about 30% of its extent, and the rest of it will extend way down under the water, often to the water table, and the termites use that water to coat the inside of the tunnels that they make, and in so doing maintain a constant temperature throughout the year. There's a remarkable system of air conditioning that goes on in these mounds. This one doesn't look to be active. It may become active again, or parts of it may become active again, but trees love to grow on them because what happens is that the nutrients within a termite mound, because of all the dung from the termites and their saliva, the nutrients are such that any tree loves to grow in them, especially things like jackalberries or brown ivory or what we call weeping boerbean. Just got some birds alarm calling in front of us, a rattling testicular. So I'm just going to go drive forward and let's have a look and see. While we do meander forward, if anybody would like to give me some information on European or American termites and where they live, that would be fascinating.
Yeah, Marc, friendly to please.
We have a question from Pennsylvania. Thanks and welcome to our afternoon game drive. The question is, can you tell the age of an antelope from the size of their horns? The answer is up to a point, absolutely. Best example is something like an impala, where the horns start to grow when they're just over a year old, and then they stop growing, or they get to their sort of maximum height at about 2.5 years. So you can tell, between that time. After that, it becomes more of a grey area because some will have bigger horns than others. In kudu, they say that each twist of the horn is 2 years of growth. So often a big bull with 4 twists would be about 8 years old. After that, they normally die. But if they don't, then the horns will probably stop growing at that stage. So yes, you can, to an extent, tell the age of an antelope from its horns. Now, the testicular seem to be shouting at each other more than they do anything else. All right, are we going to link back to Marc now, who's with some of his favorite animals? Enjoy your time with Marc.
Pop in, guys. Go in and do your thing. Don't worry about it.
Can I just go forward a little? Hi everybody, welcome back to us this afternoon. And some ellies that have been around for a little while. I see it.
You got it, man.
Yeah. No, I can see it. Would I ever drive over a caterpillar?
We don't think you would.
No, not even accidentally.
Well, if it's accidentally, you may not know. Oh, yeah.
Touché. The safe passage of a caterpillar is ensured. So a couple of ellies, well, 3. It looks like this could be that little group that have been hanging around for some time of late. And just coming past Lee and his students, it's quite a comical thing, because they were watching this caterpillar for a while and they were all worried that I was going to drive over it, and I suppose it's true. How would I know if it's unintentional? So I think, as Lee said, I think these are the 3 that have been hanging around Djuma for a while now. And sorry about all that banter, but it is necessary to chat to the neighbours. Necessary, it's fun. And it's polite and all. So now I'm thinking that possibly she is... using the very same technique we were watching the other day with other ellies, where they use their toenails to almost swipe, sorry Andrew, sideways to break off vegetation at the base when they want to get the recoppice vegetation, and they want to break it off of the roots, as opposed to pulling.
I think you would have really good commentary.
A couple of questions from Sibusiso. Jambo Bona, Sabon, Molo. Sibusiso in Hammanskraal is asking if it's true that an elephant bull, a full-grown elephant bull, can pick up a needle with its trunk. I think maybe a needle is probably pushing it, Sibusiso. But certainly a peanut. I mean, certainly they have a dexterity with those two fingers of their trunk, which, as you can see with this rather unusual cow. And I'm wondering if she isn't the youngster that we saw so many years ago. I mean, it's a good, I would say at least 5 years ago, when she was a lot younger. The same one that we called him Fupi, which in Swahili means short. And the fact that she's got these two calves that are, I would say it's debatable whether they're both hers. But they probably could be. I think this one is probably at least about maybe a 5-year-old. And the other one would need to be at least about an 8-year-old, 7 or 8-year-old. I suppose that sort of fits with their size. Unusual in that she hasn't a maternal group. She's not a very old cow. These are probably the only two calves she's had, which means that she's only in her early 20s maybe, if that. It's like they're heading out onto quarantine eventually. Thanks, Josh. I think it's the same Josh we used to hear from quite a bit. Josh saying how much he and so many others have increased their appreciation of elephant through our live drives and spending time, especially quality time, sitting quietly with Eddies and seeing how magical they can be. And while I'd like to spend a lot more time with them, I want to leave them be because there are a couple of other vehicles here. And I want to cover a bit of ground this afternoon. It's my last drive, and you know how much I love Ellie's. But they're going to be heading out onto Gowrie, or rather onto quarantine. I'm going to do a little bit of a loop for us now. We'll probably come back out onto quarantine before we go down to Gowrie Dam, because I had an far too ambitious thought for the afternoon that we would get around most of Djuma and I'd be able to reminisce about all sorts of things that we've shared together over the years, especially this little bit of a drive. And I'm using my gravity drive on Wendy right now to get to the bottom of this. The bottom of this story, the bottom of this road, where there are other stories to be told. Because whilst I have all these memories of places, every one of us that are presenting and filming are, in our own ways, developing our own new memories. Bless you. Thank you. Philemon's Dip. A notorious little spot here at Djuma for not only the fact that there is the pump, but currently there's a kudu. I think the most notable thing of all of Philemon's Dip is the sausage tree. He says, coming to a screeching halt. I'm going to stop here anyway, because there are a couple of other things to look at while we have the squirrels run away. The beautiful kudu bull. I'm sure one of the bachelor herd that we have finally found again after some time, with the very big widespread horns of the one bull and the very narrow spread of the other bull that was with him. Now this is one of the others, perhaps. The distant knock of a woodpecker. Now, just to the right of this kudu is the old pump house. Well, it's still a pump house. It's the same pump house. It is a little bit different, as you can see. It's got eucalyptus poles, what we call latta. We call them latta, wrapped around it now. But in the old days, it was just a little roof over the water pump. That is where the lodge. That's where we all get our water. There's a water pump there. It's an old Lister diesel pump that spins a shaft, so it's a centrifugal pump that brings water to the surface, and it pumps it through a pipeline from here all the way up. Philemon's cut, well, this part of Philemon's dipped to Quarantine, and across Quarantine to Woyatela, and to where we were at the camp that we were staying in now at Inga's. And Mishu and Induna, this particular dip, this little area that we're in right now, apart from the fact that there's the sausage tree and we've watched its flowers and we've watched its fruits grow from little Vienna sausages to big Russian sausages to big salamis and polonis, and eventually these things that weigh 5 kilograms. But the other thing that is very special about this little area is that Karula used to leave Mishu and Induna here, 2 of her cubs that were born in 2008. And I followed them for the whole of 2009, 2010, and going into 2011. The amount of times we found those boys here, they were even playing with some of the things that were in the pump house. There were times when I was, this little dip, I can't use gravity drive anymore, I've run out of gravity drive. Have to just use the engine for a bit. Here we go. Oh, let me stop. The kudu's coming out. Well, if I had those muscles and those horns and that kind of physique, I'd also think a lot of myself, because he clearly does. Magnificent kudu bull. What road is this? It is, that's right. And then this is Balanites. Or Rebecca's. Back up to the... Yes. Let's go this way. Whatever you like. Copy. Well, he is around. We're just trying to re-establish it.
he is around. We're just trying to re-establish a link with him. It's very difficult for us to control the satellites, unfortunately. And for me, it's just great to be out, smelling the fresh air. But this is a teak tree, and I found one once that off the sticks when they get to about this high, because that's where the vascular tissue is for the tree, and it's very nutritious, so that's what they eat, and that's why these trees don't get any bigger than sandy patch.
No, we call sandy patch. No, we haven't got to the sandy patch.
Sorry you left us again. The satellites are not behaving the way we'd like them to. I'm not sure how far down the teak story we got before the satellites went out of range, but I'm going to try and find another teak tree, and we'll have a go at that. In the meanwhile, I thought we might have an advanced tree quiz this afternoon for those of you who are feeling very particularly sharp, or perhaps a little tired of work, or whatever it is that you might be doing. We've got a number of different bush willow species in the area, and I wondered if you would like to try and find out what they were. I think we'll start off with 3 to begin with, and if you can give me 4, that'll be particularly impressive, and I will clap loudly on live streaming internet if you manage to give me 4 or 5. Have a go at that. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. Beautiful kudu cow. Isn't that a stunning sight? Got her huge ears, listening out for any danger there might be. Highly selective and prehensile lips to help them choose exactly which pieces, which buds and leaves and twig ends they want to eat. Then if you look slightly to the right of that, there's another kudu in the long grass, and you can see how beautifully the stripes on the kudu's back, there she is, you can see how beautifully the stripes on her back help to camouflage her in the long yellow. This is called giant yellow thatching grass, or Hypothelia dissoluta. And although it looks like she might be grazing, she isn't actually. She's not eating grass. She's finding small, what we call forbs, or herbaceous plants, down in the understory. Her ears working like two satellite dishes all the time, trying to pick up any hint of danger. Also highly sensitive noses. You can see there she's picked up a creeper off the ground. She's not eating grass. Stunning golden light coming through the grass there. Beautiful. And that for me is the color of the African winter. Glorious golden yellow ginger color when the sun starts to set at the end of the day. Let's see how the other one's doing. See how the kudu's neck is perfectly perched on the end of her shoulders so that she can eat. She can dip her head down like the other one was doing, but it's mainly perfectly designed so that she can pick leaves from the mid-stratum of the trees like she's doing now. We've got another one coming from the front of the car. Also with those ears out like satellite dishes. Just in front of the vehicle there. Here she comes. I'm just going to sneak a little bit further down the road. Of kudu now. Our front, quite skittish. There we go. Just hoping, I don't know if she'll turn her head to us. I'm not sure that she will. What's interesting, hoping she'll turn. No, she won't. The other two are running from a vehicle that's just gone past us. There we go. Now look, as she goes past. There she is. I don't know if you can see, but underneath her eyes, she's got white stripes, much like lions do. And we think that is an adaptation to living in thick bush where light conditions are not great. And so that helps reflect light into her eyes. That's just conjecture. We could be entirely wrong about it. There's one right behind us. Let's carry on. Sam has come up with an answer to our quiz. She's given me 6 species of bush willow, 3 of which she recalls seeing on drive. She gave the leadwood, which is Bretum and Burby, red bush willow, Cumbretum apiculatum, and the variable bush willow, Cumbretum calinum, which I'll try and show them all to you as we go along. And then she also mentions another 3, which she says 3 or 4 that she says she doesn't know if they are here. Sam, they are found here. Most of the ones you said the river bush willow, I think, Cumbretum erythrophyllum, then we get the russet bush willow, Cumbretum herreraense. We probably also get the climbing bush willow, Cumbretum mozambicense. And that's probably about it. I may have left 1 or 2 out. Well done, Sam. And while we carry on the trail of whatever else we can find, we're going to cross back to Marc and see how he's enjoying his final drive.
Everyone, welcome back to our, well, this is Wendy, and we're still on Weaver's Nest. I've been stopping at a few places along Weaver's Nest that have held memories, but we've had a bit of a technical issue this afternoon, and of course there's time to go to James and things. But a couple of things that I came past that I want to remind you of, and I'm hoping that the guys are going to show you in the future. Remember, there's that orchard. It's just off Weaver's Nest, just on the eastern side of Weaver's Nest where Elephant Skull Junction is. It's that beautiful orchard in the leadwood tree. There was that wonderful time when we were coming through the dip between the 2 roads that go up to Treehouse Dam, when we had Karula and both boys. We had all 3 of them with an impala kill in that drainage line, and there are a couple of little jackalberries or knobthorns that had been pushed across the drainage line, so they were lying at an angle, and they were on this kill, and I think 2 or 3 hyena came in, and there was just mayhem, and both boys, Karula made, I think she had also already left, and it was just Mishun and Duna, and the 2 of them jumped into the tree, and as they ran up the tree, the one hyena almost snapped at the heels of one of the boys. But that was quite an amazing time. But we are here for a specific reason. I've missed the orchid to show you, but I'm sure you're going to see it again. And do remember that when come September, you better remind anybody who's driving to come try and show you the orchid flowers. And then just after that, just behind us somewhere, is that Stapelia, which is the carrion flower, that really beautiful starfish flower that I learned from the viewers is actually a pot plant, and a plant that is grown in many parts of the world as a house plant, much like the Sansevieria that we saw today. But I'm here for another reason. I'm here because we're about to enter Gari Gari Main, and this, where I am, is the old fire break. And down this road on the old fire break used to be a tree that had a hole in it. There was a knobthorn, and I think it's that knobthorn down there. And Sharon in Austria, who's been with us for a long time, wanted to know if there's still a part in it. I'm going to try and get to it, but as you can see, there's a knobthorn across the road, courtesy of our local packager, and I can't get there right now. But that, I think, is the tree, or it might be a little bit further on, but I do distinctly remember that tree being here. It's not this one next to us, because the one that is next to me, there's a hole very, very high up that we can't see, and so the python couldn't or wouldn't, well, even if it's there, we wouldn't know. I'm not a tree climber like Peter. I couldn't get up there. But interestingly, just for Genevieve, in part of New York State, are the fungi, the bracket fungi that you can see growing out of this knobthorn. Beautiful skeletons they are. Sharon, I'm going to go and see if I can find that hole in the tree. And then we'll go to Twin Dams and reminisce about a few other wonderful moments over the past few years. If I can't get through here, I'll try and get there from Gary Main. But this whole... It actually used to be a road we used to... Gary Main was actually getting too busy because this is a firebreak road that runs parallel. It's from the days when there used to be fences, so there would be a road on the inside of the fence and a road on the outside of the fence. I have them at home too. And nowadays, because there aren't any fences, you get two parallel roads. But it's nice to know that they've actually let that road grow over and it is no longer an active road and returning to its original roots. So I'm going to sneak across. I can hear some oxpeckers actually. There's a challenge that I've just been given from Dylan. Hello, Dylan. Nice to hear from you. Dylan in, I think, Iowa. Has there been one moment that has inspired me to change? I don't know what these oxpeckers are doing. Or inspired to make a change in this world. I think there'd probably be many, Dylan. This is not the tree. I don't even know if that tree still exists, but there's no hole in this tree. I know for a fact that it was down this little bit of firebreak road because I used to come and visit it because it was just such a magic thing to see a pine. And if we go back this way, past these oxpeckers that are complaining, we get to the other side of we were looking at where the other knobthorn is being pushed over. There's nothing really in between. There's a little bit of an apple leaf. And this is a little bit further down, but I was so confident. Yes, there's the hole, Sharon. The oxpeckers are making a noise because of... from that one that you're on, Andrew, if you can come down, it's hidden behind the guarri bush. I guess it shows how much this guarri bush has grown over the years, but there, hidden behind the leaves of the guarri bush, is the hole where there used to be a python. And I can't get to it because of this knobthorn that's been pushed over in front of us. It would be so interesting. It would be really amazing if there was a python still in there today. So I'm going to try something. Although the way this oxpecker is complaining, I'm starting to think that it might be an oxpecker's nest. And because I'm really aiming at it. See, the oxpeckers are not doing their normal call. They're kind of alarming a little bit. There's the one at the top of the tree. The very top of the tree. On the right. So, what's in there? Do you think that's the oxpecker hole? Well, it could be. It would make more sense that if that's it, if that's their hole. Well, I don't know what I just said, and I don't know what he said back to me, but clearly not. I'm going to try something. Stop here. I'm going to try and peer in this hole where the python used to be. maybe if I move the branches. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see, but I can't see anything in there.
No, but can you, I just want the shape.
Yeah, I can see it nicely.
The shape of the hole.
Yeah.
I think that was it, and I think if there was any screen caps or anything, you would sort of recognise the shape of the hole. I think that possibly could be it, but it's not. There's nothing there. Oxpeckers are still up in the top of the tree. Not happy with me being here, so I'm going to just remove myself from the equation. Sorry, children. Bye. I'm going now. Screening blue mode. Almost. High five. I had to stop because I'm really getting a bit of a problem with communication today. But it sounds like it's James in Kansas City. My friend James, Mr. Bear. Greetings to you, Squire. And hope hasn't heard the last of you. I'm just going to have to stop and talk to somebody because that's what we do. And I shall be joining. I'll be back with you shortly. How are you? Good. How are you? Good, and you? Good. Good afternoon, all. Having fun? Good. Take care. Okay, James was asking about. I think it was more. An incident, or rather something that we saw back in Thornybush a couple of years ago, and I haven't really seen them here because I think it's the wrong time of the year yet, and you'll probably be seeing them in a couple of months' time with Scott and Brent and James. It's the processionary caterpillar, and I haven't seen any here yet, but that's what they were called, James, the processionary caterpillars. Let me just quickly, let's get a visual aid out. I'm sure if I open the library I can probably access them fairly quickly. Processionary starts with a processionary. I don't even have it in the index, so I've got to look for it, but I'll find it. Processionaries, there they are. They look like that, James. Where they would walk head to tail, and each caterpillar actually follows a line of silk, because each caterpillar lays down a line of silk as they move from tree to tree. And since they are quite a communal caterpillar, they probably devour quite a few leaves, especially when they start getting to be their last sort of larval stage before they become the moth that they do become. And their length, they're probably around 2 to 3 inches as adults, or not adults, as final instar larvae before they pupate into adults. And that is the adult up here of the processionary moths. But they also pupate. Everything they do together. So they hatch as eggs, they stay together as the first instar larva. They're actually quite a pretty moth. That's a different moth, by the way. That's the equine moth. But quite remarkable little creatures. And since there are so many of them in a procession, and each one is laying down a line of silk, towards the end, after 20 or 30 caterpillars, there's actually quite a thick line of silk at the end that you can actually pick them up and move them out of the way just by moving the silk. You can bring the whole line of caterpillars off of the road and avoid squashing them. Quite remarkable creatures. Gary Main going down to Twin Dams. We need to get off of this road. There seems to be a little bit of traffic I want to avoid. Thanks for the question, James. I hope that answers it. You're from Cape Town?
No, we are from Victoria, but our head office is
Okay. Yes. If you look online, if you go online, you look for WildEarth. WildEarth, you'll find us. We broadcast live. So we show the world, the animals and everything live. And then I've got people that send emails to me and their questions, so I can answer people anywhere in the world. I've just been talking to Sibusiso in social movie. Yeah. Or even I've been talking to people in New York and in England. Well, when we find them, then we film them. So when you look on, you see what we see. We drive around and we look for animals.
Welcome back, everyone, to our quiet afternoon safari. I hope you've been enjoying Marc's company as he takes you on a little trip of memory lane. My memories extend back a day, so it's all rather a journey of discovery for me. We had a little competition tree quiz there just now, and one of the trees that we spoke about was the red bush willow, and all around you can see that these red bush willows are starting to turn yellow. The colours of autumn in this part of the world tend to go straight to yellow and then brown, and this is the red bush willow, or Combretum apiculatum, and it's from this abundant tree that this kind of woodland gets its name. It's called red bush willow woodland because it's the most abundant tree. Those of you who were with me a little bit earlier will have seen some of the discussion on the teak. We spoke about its use as an eye ointment, and there are quite a few of those round-leaf teak trees around here too. And once we've had a look at this beautiful red bush willow in the golden setting sunlight, we'll go and have a quick look at the teak tree, and then we're on our way to a watering hole where I'm hoping to find a hippo and perhaps a buffalo or two. Now, Vian tells me that buffalo tend not to be the most popular animals with you viewers out there. And, sorry, we're just going to look at this teak tree here to the left. And that is the round leaf teak, which and you, I don't know how far we got in the story before the satellites decided to kill our feed. But these leaves you can crush up, soak in water, and then drip them in your eyes. Like I said before, I haven't tried it. Don't think that I will. But if you're desperate out here and you've got red eyes and it's been a dusty day, you might like to try it one day. Remember the round leaf teak? And I don't know if any of you can remember the Latin name for it. It's Pterocarpus rotundifolius. Right, so let's go and see if we can find this hippo. Had some feedback from
Black mamba in the road at Pawnee Bush. Hello boys, Buffalo boys. Now this is a very important dam in my history of being here at Djuma Game Reserve, and I remember quite clearly how I think it might have been my first or second drive. I think it was one of my first early morning drives on my own after I started, so it could have been long after my first drive that you saw when we had Fireside Chat last night. I think it was probably after that, when I eventually joined WildEarth and I came here full time, and I was doing a morning drive, and we came down to, and it was Rex that was with me, I think, and it was the first time that I saw shadow, and I think it was shadow, and I would love to know if anybody remembers that. I know it's asking for a lot, but my very first leopard, one of the first leopards that I found, was just arriving here at Twin Dams, and there was a leopard somewhere down there where these buffalo are doing what buffalo do. Let me get into a better position, because they're starting to wake up. They've been lying around in the mud all day, and they're starting to wake up. They're starting to get a little bit active. Hello, Roy. And getting a little bit boisterous, as boy things do. Boys, mind if we join the party for a bit? I feel right at home with a bunch of Duggar boys. Old bachelor boys. Oh. And there's always a little bit of posturing and a little bit of pushing and shoving. They've been lying around in the mud and the water all day, and they've built up a little bit of energy. It's starting to cool down, and they're going to be making their way, probably in different directions, to go and graze for the night, because it's probably going to get rather chilly down here during the night since the cold air sinks. Hello, Mr. Buffalo. And hello, Mr. Buffalo. You can hear the green pigeons. There have been green pigeons drinking here today. Also here, but better. Instead of complaining. I'm trying to stay away from the too emotional stuff, the stuff that might be a little bit too... But Doug, hello Doug in Connecticut, who's asking me about how guiding has maybe changed from my early start, I think back in the 80s to what it is now. It's nearly 30 years of guiding, really. and how it has changed, or it's become very commercial, I think. Probably not the best question to be answering right now, but it has become very commercial. I find that there are a lot of guys that don't really care, that all they are here for is to fulfill a function in a hotel. So they become merely an employee of a hotel that is performing their duty the way the hotel wants them to perform their duty, as opposed to being able to be an individual and to express an individuality or express a passion. And I think, if anything, that is one of the things. By all means, go to them while I'm talking. I think that there isn't a passion anymore. I think I'm a little disillusioned. I think that's come out in times when I can become exasperated with the way that guides behave, but it's not them as individuals that is doing it. It's the industry. It is what it is right now. It's such high-end tourism, and tourism is demanding the opportunities, the sightings, the whole marketing of tourism is that you're going to come and you're going to see the most fantastic things. And unfortunately, the people that visit, unless they get what they've been paying for, they find fault. And so it is up to the lodges to ensure that at all costs their guests get to see and tick off, whether it be the big five or whatever it may be. And I think to some extent, to a large extent, that original bush experience is lost. But that's only from my perspective, because I'm a little bit old and jaded. I think if I have to look at it from the perspective of a first-time visitor to Africa, and you're having this one moment, you're having 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, doesn't matter, you've only got a week at the most, where you're going to spend some time in the bush. You want to see everything that you can see. You don't mind if you don't spend quality time with something, because everything you've put into your holiday is to be here for a short space of time and just to experience something. So just to experience it for a moment and find another moment to experience is what it's all about. So I understand all of that, and I just think that there needs to be a little bit of a balance between the two. But I think, other than that, I think that the whole industry itself has grown and has expanded. I'm amazed, I'm surprised, and I'm grateful and thankful that over the last 20 to 30 years that I've been involved, and to what it was in the 1980s to what it has become now in the 21st century, and how much more interest there is, how much more passion there is about wildlife and nature, and how much more it becomes an important facet of our lives as human beings. I think that is probably the most phenomenal thing about the growth of tourism, and the growth of especially ecotourism or wildlife tourism here in South Africa, is that so many people are coming to Africa and they're experiencing what you're experiencing through the lens. They're experiencing it in their own way. That opens their eyes to the plight of African wildlife, to the need to conserve it or preserve it, semantics, but to make sure that it, Andrew, these two bulls, the one bull's trying to greet the other, and he's trying to say hello in a nice way. But he's just far too intimidated. I love animal behavior. He's probably even older and bigger. Anyways, let's move on. One or two other things. One other thing I want to remind you about that happened almost exactly where we are standing right now was there'd been summer months and winter months, and the grasses around the dam here can get very, very long during the summer. And we'd had some good seasons because it had been a drought, and when I got here with the first good rains, and I think about 2 or 3 years after I got here, I found the tip of an elephant tusk almost right here where we are. I think some of you might remember that. I know that some of you remember that because I was blown away. It was, for me, it was striking the mother lode. It's like striking gold. But not because it was of any value as an elephant tusk, but because of my passion for elephants and my life with elephants. And that here I had just the tip, just a piece of an elephant that was still walking around. Anyways, bye-bye bulls. I guess I'll see you if you come up to Mansonville, although I highly doubt that you'll ever get there, since you got such luxurious quarters down here in the Sabi Sands and at Djuma. But nonetheless, good night, my friends. Hasta luego. The jackalberries here at Twin Dams. Oh, I love these jackalberries. I'll never forget them. In the UK. The funniest thing that I've seen on Drive that's made me laugh out loud, I think invariably it's always babies, children. I know I can remember young buffalo moments, I can remember especially young elephant moments, young cat moments, young anything moments can be funny. And what are you looking at, dude? You're looking at me? Are you looking at me? Okay, I give up.
Whoa.
Yeah, don't mess with me, he says. I'm a good few 100 kilograms heavier than you. I've got a... Yeah, he's a big bull. He's certainly no one I'd mess with on foot. And... See, that's a funny moment because he's saying, "You're laughing at me? You dare?" Wonderful moments. There are so many places here at Djuma that I've done a tiny fraction, and it's already nearly sunset. I haven't even begun. But I'll come back. I will. I'll be back one day, and we can revisit some of the other places where we have had some amazing times together. This is Styx Pride territory. This is where the Styx used to hang out. I remember finding the Styx here on many occasions. And as I go onto this Twin Dams road that heads up back towards Gowrie Dam, I'm going to show you a little spot where, a couple of spots here where the Styx used to lounge around, where I remember seeing them on a few occasions. I remember this dam, Tara and I were on the vehicle together one time, and there was our very first sighting of the Majingilans, those 5 marauding males that came in, and at the time there was a coalition of males that had ruled this area for quite some time already. They were known as the Mapochos. 6 big males, but they decimated the lion population in this northern part of the Sabi Sand for the first, in the first year that they'd been here. Anyways, there's that little track just running up here. There's an alley. where the sticks used to be. So I can take this little track where we used to go and see the Styx Ellies. I know they were Styx Lions. I'm excited because there's an Ellie. To say Sunset Ellie. Fabian will know how fitting that is. Hola, buena tempo. Welcome back, Andrew. A lovely big bull. Oh, look at him. I haven't seen him recently. Not too sure who he is yet. Might be making his way down towards Twin Dams. Certainly going to stay with him. Question coming from New Jersey. Debbie in New Jersey. Hi, Debbie. What does it mean when an elephant swings their front leg, his or hers? Debbie says she's seen it numerous times. For me, what I read out of it, it's kind of an indecision. It's sort of when they're confronted by, or normally when I'm in their company and I'm sitting with them and they're coming towards me and I suddenly appear on the road and they're walking down the road and I'm driving up the road, and even though I pull off the road, they'll stand there and they'll swing the leg and they'll think, well, should I go that way, or should I go around that way, or should I go around that way, or should I just walk all over that little Land Rover that's in front of me? And for me, that's what it is. That's the kind of energy that I get out of it when elephants do that. It's a state of indecision. It's a state of they're not really sure about what to do. There's no. I don't believe there's any aggression in that particular movement. I just got to switch on the radio while we're watching him. He is going to be coming down towards Twin Dams. He's not too far from it. He's on the other side of this little wattle tree just behind that wattle. It's got to be. Stripping things there for roots, for bark. I think it's the bush willow behind. No, that was a piece of wattle that he just broke. I think the question comes from Seattle. Unfortunately, could be Debbie. My favorite time of the day. Where are you going, dude? And sometimes it's sunset. I suppose sunset around about this time of the day, ending the day. But by the same token, being up early and being able to set the tone of the day is another very important thing. To be able to start the day with Ellie's or something, I think that is it's got to top anything that sunset can do. Look at this magnificent bull. There is the African Ellie sunset.
I have to go a little bit.
No, he's going to step forward.
Okay, cool.
In his mouth. I don't know why he's carrying all of that. He's doing his very typical sort of march down towards the water, very bold. Mr. Elephant, sir. Mr. Elephant, sir. Can you ignore me? Very well. You know when you're insignificant when like that happens, and he's just got one part of his
Copy. Welcome back from Vienna and I, and welcome to the Sunset Drive. It's gone from an afternoon to a beautiful winter sunset. We have been unsuccessful in finding the leopard. We're still on a trail, but it's been a magnificent afternoon out here, and I hope you've enjoyed spending time with Marc as he closes this chapter of his bush career, a long and illustrious bush career, which I hope will carry on in some other guise wherever he finds himself. We're hoping now, as the sun has set, that some of the nocturnal creatures will start to come out. One of my favorite times of the year, because favorite times of the day, because I can hear what I like to call the changing of the guard, where there's a silence as the sun goes down. The bush is never silent for long, but there's a very brief period between which the daytime animals and the daytime birds go quiet. Nocturnal animals begin their calls and their sounds and their movements. And I call that little time of the day the changing of the guard. And it's normally just after sunset. And often the only thing that you can hear at that time of the day is the beautiful white-browed scrub robin. And instead of doing their normal whistling call, which goes they make a sort of sound, and that sound to me heralds the beginning of another glorious African night. Turning a golden color. I suppose the sunset is the same anywhere in the world, but wherever I've seen it, it's always disappointed me slightly when compared with the big skies of Africa. I'm sure in some of the large areas in North America you must get similar sunsets, and in Europe the colors are great, but the size of the sky always seems to be much bigger here. Not sure how that works. Got a hornbill on the floor there. I don't know if anyone can tell me what kind of hornbill that is. It should be pretty easy once you see its head. But he's being very, there we go. So given the colour of his bill, he's pretty easy to identify. But, and I'm sure you've all seen that glorious film, The Lion King, where the hornbill was called Zazu. Now, the word Izazu is probably I'm not sure if it exists in Swahili, and I suspect it probably does, but it is a Zulu word as well. And I wonder if anybody has any idea what Izazu means in isiZulu, which is a language from South Africa, and I think where they got the name for the hornbill in The Lion King. Give you a bit of a clue, has a lot to do with his role as he was an advisor in the film.
As he's about to leave Djuma. Maybe. Anyhow, some guys are scared of elephants. There's no need to reverse. Just stay where you are and seek your engine off. Goodbye, Mr. Ellie. I think to have had something like that as my sort of final evening. Bye-bye, Mr. Ellie. Come to me in Mansavula. Come say hello. Wow. Okay. So now, what's next for the that was the grand finale. What's the grand finale? The idea was to go from Twin Dams up Twin Dams Road or something. I don't know. Let's go to. Let's see where the road takes us. My sister in Alaska, not my blood sister, she's my transplant sister, Heather in Alaska. Hello, Heather. My favorite small animal, because I suppose it's no secret anymore that elephants are my favorite animal, large animal. No, I think it's just that I identify with them more. It's my favorite small animal. Animal, reptile, bird, fish, amphibian. What are we talking about here, Heather? Well, let's go through them. Let's see, my favorites. It's so hard to choose favorites because then what do I tell all the rest of the other children? I love everybody. Small mammal would probably be all the cats. Not necessarily the big cats, because I do love the big cats, but maybe the likes of some of the smaller cats. I love domestic cats. I'm more of a cat person than a dog person. I love dogs. I just love cats more. One of those things. You find that people who love cats love dogs as well. People who love dogs don't really understand cats that well. If dogs are the primary. But if cats are the primary, then dogs are fine too. And horses, and goats and pigs and sheep and cows and everything. Ducks and geese. Elephants. Shrews. I'm fascinated by shrews. No, maybe even more than shrews, because I perhaps have a more interaction with bats. And bats are so misaligned or malaligned. What do you call it? They just portrayed in the wrong way because of folklore and nonsense fiction. Bats are super fascinating creatures, and I've had some very, very emotional times with bats, reuniting children with their mothers. Finding out for the first time that a bat will fly with her baby strapped to her breast or wrapped around her, holding on to her. She'll fly around with the baby, suckling. But bats are also one of these mammals, like us and elephants and bears, memories between the front legs. Fish. My favorite fish. Fish. Marine or freshwater? Sharks, perhaps. No, there's no. How can there be a favorite? An entirely different world. Birds, the eagles, falcons, insects, praying mantises, spiders, jumping spiders. But then, when I think of a favorite, I think of a bunch of other things that I love just as much. The wasps, and the bees, and the ants. For me, the best ants of all are the little sugar ants. Well, they're not that little. They're one of the largest ants, actually. Big yellow sugar ants that only come out at night. And they just find that little few grains of sugar you spilled when you put it in your coffee or your tea, or that little dribble of honey. Or they find your candy jar. They find a way into your candy jar, and then they find their way into the candy wrapper. And slowly but surely, they'll nibble the candy completely away, so you pick up the wrapper and it's just air because the sugar ants have been at it because you haven't. Their favorite things. In fact, I think, if anything, my favorites would be the very thing that I'm looking at that time of the day or at that moment in time, because that would be when it would be my favorite. It would be that which I'm looking at. But you're one of my favorite people, Heather. I think that's one thing I can say for certainty. And if it wasn't for organ donorship and the possibility of a new lease on life, I think both Heather and I would be wondering where we would be today. And you, Discovery, are driving way too fast in a game reserve, and I'm not moving out of the way just yet. You need to slow down. Land Rover people don't normally do that. I'm going to get off of this main road. Unfortunately, I've been on it because of the alley, and I'm waiting for our next turn-off, which is Spum Road. We're going to cross over to James. We're going to see what he's about for the sunset here on a Monday afternoon, and I'll see you in a little bit. I'll see you in a while.
Welcome back, everyone. We've just had the most magnificent sunset. It's left me feeling quite amazed. And in the background, I can smell the starting of a few fires from a few of the lodges around here, and the smell of a wood smoke fire in the bush is just possibly the most comforting thing in the world, especially on a slightly sad evening like tonight. We did have a question from someone on Twitter as to where in England I come from. I don't come from England. I'm not sure. I've been accused of that before, of course. But I'm from Johannesburg in South Africa. We're just going to pull up onto this clearing here, and I'm going to switch off. And I just want you to, I was speaking earlier about the changing of the guard. I want you to hear how silent it is at this time of the day. And maybe one of those white-browed scrub robins will call for us. So normally you can hear the sounds of the day, the birds, the dawn chorus, the midday chorus. And you can hear now there's nothing. Except Vian jumping about on his seat, of course. And soon the sound will be replaced with the sounds of the night. The owls, the nightjars, the crickets, in summer the frogs. Even the high-pitched, ultrasonic squeaking of the bats. You might be able to hear the last franklins of the night going. Crested franklins before they climb into the trees. And there was an elephant calling. Very angry elephant calling. We might try and just make our way there slowly and see what we can see there. It's a stunning, stunning time of the day. We have a question from Marc in the Netherlands. I hope I have the pronunciation of your name correct. Thanks for the question and welcome to what has turned into an evening safari. You would like to know if the lilac-breasted rodent lays its eggs in the nest of another bird like a cuckoo does. Marjo, no, it doesn't. What they do, if I'm not mistaken, lay their nests in tree holes, which they probably don't excavate themselves. So they might lay their eggs in, say, the tree hole that's been excavated by a barbet or a woodpecker, but it would normally, if I'm not mistaken, it would be, that nest would have been vacated before. They may even chase the other bird out of it, but they certainly look after and raise their own young. They're not brood parasites like cuckoos are. One of the things that the World Wide Web is unable to do as of yet, perhaps that great South African Elon Musk will sort the problem out for us one day, is transfer smell. And right now I'm smelling the potato bush, or Phyllanthus reticulatus, which has got nothing to do with potatoes, but it's flowers. Attract a nocturnal insect of some sort for pollination, and there's a glorious smell of potatoes in the air at the moment. Syracuse, welcome to the evening. You would like me to try and find some bats. I will do my best. Tracking bats is obviously difficult because they don't leave much of a jet stream. But certainly as it gets darker, the chances of seeing them are quite high. And then your ability to see them will depend entirely on Vian, so I'm gonna blame him if we don't see any. Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome to the African evening, African twilight. You'd like to know what the sound of, if I understand your question correctly, what the sounds lions make when they hunt compared with those of hyenas. Well, given that we can't see any lions or hyenas, I'll give you my best impression. When lionesses are on the hunt, they will communicate with sort of low-sounding grunts like That's actually not a very good impression, but it's something like that. And they do it just very gently, one to one side, so that they can stay in constant audio communication with each other. Hyenas because they have a different hunting strategy. They will chase something down until it can't run anymore. So they tend to be a lot more vocal and a lot more noisy about it, and they will make that high, cackling, laughing noise as they surround something and attack it. So lions tend to be a lot more stealthy. If they feel like they've lost communication, they'll make a little grunt, but the hyenas will be much less quiet. I hope that answers your question. We're going to link back to the old master, who's got a few more memories to share with you. We'll carry on and see what else we can find.
Hi everyone, well, welcome back. And we've been driving around parts of Djuma where I can hopefully reminisce about them. And earlier on, I actually went past that orchid in the tree just off of Weaver's Nest. And I just happened to be on Rebecca's Road, and we're going to be coming past one of the other orchids, one of the only other orchids here on Djuma, or visible from the road at least. But I'm heading up Rebecca's Road because I thought maybe if it's not going to be too dark, well, I'm losing light and I'm losing time quite fast, as if I could go and have a look and just say goodbye to the hyenas too. I was lucky enough to see Mvula this morning, and I guess we could go drive up and down the dam road. Hopefully he's going to pop his head out, but I'm not sure. But anyways, there is with a little bit of a pink sky behind it. One of the best orchids here at Djuma. And I'm doing that because I'm sure I'm going to come back one day and I'm going to ask you if any of you took a screenshot so that I can see how it's changed since I was last here. And so this is now when I'm last here, so that next time I come I can get an idea of what it looks like since I was last here. Just beyond this orchid and the original orchid that was in this dead dog farm, there's a little patch of open grass just off to my right here. There, that's the one. Some of you will remember there's a classic moment of going in there after I think I was looking for Mishu, who was one of Karula's sons. Mishu and Nduna were her two boys that were born in 2008. So when I arrived there in 2008, I don't think they'd been seen yet. And just after I left, because I arrived and I did my test sort of audition drive, and I went back home for a little bit. And I actually went back to the Cape. I went to get my Land Rover, and I came back. And in February, when I got back here in February, they'd already been following them for 2 months. So I met them as sort of these 3.5-month-old leopards, and I'd followed them for most of their all of their childhood till they left Mom. But there was that one moment when Mishu was out there, and I came in and I drove in to see him, and I didn't know what the circumstance was. And I stopped the vehicle, and he was lying in the grass, and he he actually came towards the vehicle, and then he looked at me and he looked at the ground. And he went down and he hissed at me and bared his teeth. And I didn't know why he was so angry with me until I moved the vehicle a little bit, and I noticed that I'd actually parked the vehicle where the remains of his kill was, and he'd killed a Dacre. And there was fragments of bone and a little bit of skin and hair. But I guess I was still parked on top of his dinner table, so he wasn't too pleased with it. Michigan. Wilma is asking, where in the world would I like to go to spend time with other animals and other wildlife, knowing that Africa is my root. I can't go anywhere, but I'm tied to Africa in ways that I can't even begin to explain. And it's not just emotional, I mean, there's physical ties. I can't leave Africa. But not that I ever would. I couldn't. But where would I like to spend my time? I think if I had, because I would only have one or two chances if I ever did, and I think I'd have to choose them very wisely. And although there are probably numerous areas, numerous places, numerous ecosystems or unique features about our planet Earth that I would dearly love to see, things that I've only had glimpses of through the efforts of National Geographic, growing up with National Geographic and other wildlife stuff. But it would be very hard to choose, but it would probably be a choice that would take me to a place that has the completely different composition of perhaps plant and animals that are totally unrelated to what I'm so used to here on the African continent. And I think probably Australia would be one of those. Australia, I don't know if I'd ever get to New Zealand, but I would love to see New Zealand. But the marsupials and the historical and geographical, or rather geological link of Australia with Africa, I think from that point of view Australia would probably, but then there would be other emotional ties to Australia, such as family who have been living in Australia since the 1970s. My mom's brother Rob, my uncle Rob, and my aunt Poppet, cousins Nikki and Mike, the Davis clan of Perth. They would influence my decision because they are blood. Madagascar would be something else, because Madagascar has been an island. It has been separated from the mainland for so many generations that it has its entire an entire ecosystem, an entire diversity of almost unique and endemic creatures. What a place to visit. Everything will be new. Of course, South America and Amazon, that adds to the list. Anyways, I think that kind of gets my point across. This is the end, my friend, the end of 3 zebras, the end of 3 zebras. Brenda, Pennsylvania. Will I be taking Brian's mum's skull home? I don't even know where the skull is, Brenda, because we moved out of the... I must ask Lee and his team. Maybe it's still there. But no, even if I knew where it was, no, I would not be taking it home. It is a skull that belongs to Djuma. It is part of Djuma. It needs to... I think in some ways it would be nice for it to be part of the collection of it's almost like museum stuff that Yuri has accumulated over the years, because he is such an ecologist and he is such a man after my own heart, and that everything is so interesting and so valuable to education. And if it doesn't belong there, then it just belongs back where Brian's mom died, so that it can just go back into the soil like everything else. But I think it's served its purpose. We had a look at it. It was certainly an anomaly. And this particular zebra looks like he's had a pretty deep gash on his thigh that's healed very well. I don't know why my eyes picked that up, but it looks like the stripes haven't quite healed properly. Not healed, but lined up. Maybe I'm wrong. But other than that, what a fantastic stallion of a zebra. It looks like a couple of mares that might be further on. Now I'm wondering, because I think it was this morning, if I'm not mistaken, but at some point you were watching the hyena. Might have been with Brent or James, I'm not sure which one. You were watching the hyena. I remember Tara telling me, and zebra came along, and there was a bit of a zebra hyena kerfuffle. Zoe's Road, this is. We're at the entrance to the hyena den. I think before it gets dark, I just want to wander down there. Oh, we still got a little bit of light on the camera, and I don't have to use lights. Thanks, Mr. Z. Catch you later, dude. But for now, I don't want to disturb zebra at this time of the day. They're more diurnal. Oh, actually, hang on a sec. And a bunch of them running down this way. Back to the stallion. Mares and a foal. They're all very alert. And there's a vehicle coming up from the hyena den, so I'll find out if it's active or not. But these zebra have been running from something. Or something didn't. I think it's about the most we can sort of brighten up this picture at the moment. I know it is getting pretty dark for the camera. It's just interesting that the whole herd has... The mares all seem to have picked up some sort of danger to the south, and have actually convinced the stallion, and that he's now taking them all off into this open area, almost where the hyena den is. I suppose they're fairly safe from the hyena, being a group. The hyena, although they could probably gang up on a zebra, I think the zebra are a little bit too active, a little bit too aggressive with their kicks, that the hyena would even bother to try and even take one down. I don't think there are enough of them. We'd need more than 3 or 4 adults, and I know maybe we can reach up to 7 or 8 adults at this den, but I don't think that they would take down one of the zebra. The zebra are going to be spending their night in this beautiful area. It's probably one of my favourite areas for starting up in the morning, because it's this bowl that looks from Zoe's Road. It looks out to the east. Over almost most of Djuma, there's this beautiful long view. It is getting kind of dark. But you get the idea, you get the vastness of the kind of world that we live in here, because what we're looking at now with the zebra barely visible walking through the grassland down below, but there's just these endless miles of bushveld from here all the way into Mozambique. We're looking east across the entire Greater Kruger National Park. Sorry, I need to move. They've got some vehicles coming. I just need to stop and check. Excuse me a moment. Good evening, Lee.
Good evening, sir. Well,
very good, and you?
Have a nice day.
Hello, ladies.
So, I didn't realise you were with the zebras. I thought you were waiting for me to come out, so I thought I'd mistake.
No, it was just wonderful zebra stuff. Anything happening down there?
Yeah, there's six hyenas down there.
Good. It's getting a bit dark for us. I want to get there before.
No, we're going to hit the zebras. See you later.
Bye. Before they disappear from the net, I'm just going to go down and say hello, goodbye. What's that song? Is it a Mary Poppins song, or is it a Sound of Music song? Okay. Anyway, let's say hello to the hyena and then say goodbye. If we can see them in the dark. But it's getting time when those cubs are old enough that they can handle a bit of light. I hope it's not too dark. Looking like it is a bit too dark. Nancy and other people. Hello, children. Okay, I'm hoping Lucy, Nancy, and other people asking about the book thing. Yes, I do. Just don't know how to go about it. Hoping it's not too dark right now. Hoping that you can just see this little dark shadow of this. I haven't seen them for quite a while actually, and they've lost their darkness. They were getting their spots. 4 months. Hello, children. Okay, I guess you can barely see them. I can only see what I can see on my screen. I can't use any lights. They're just way too young to use lights at the moment, especially because it just makes them vulnerable. And I guess my timing was a little bit off. It was because of delays on the way. But we won't stay too long. Okay, move out the way, children. I've got to start the car because we're going to leave. I just wanted to come and see and say hello. Sorry, babies. They run away, but then they come straight back. They're becoming naughty little children. Soon they're going to be chewing on the tires and the bumpers and the... I can remember sitting here, one of this very dead site, in fact. We've got a piece of wood at home even. From this dead site, there used to be a bush in the middle there where there's what appears to be a little patch Oh, it's too dark to see. But anyway, there used to be a bush there, and there was a piece of it. Baba hyenas, they're coming right after them. They're not far behind. They're having it. I think it's a game. But they won't venture far, and then they go back. But I can remember sitting there with... There was a time, if I remember correctly, Jigger didn't have a door. I'm thinking that there was a time when Jigger, this was open on my right-hand side, and sitting there, and yes, I know you'll probably be shocked, but I had boots on, and the little one, one of the little ones, I don't know if it was Teddy. I think it was before Teddy's time. I'm not sure if it was Teddy. Teddy was a little hyena we were watching in 2011 at this den. Even one of the bigger ones could be that hyena right now. We wouldn't really know about it. But I can remember chewing on my boots. It was, and just sitting there in that moment of just letting them, and it was moonlight, I think. Letting them explore. How else do they know what we are all about? So, I guess we can put some lights on now, and I can put the spotlights and plug that in. And we can start looking for some nocturnal animals. Nice camera action. Incident. Jenny, you had to bring that up, didn't you? Jenny in Virginia had to bring up the lug nut incident. I was thinking about that actually. We were on Twin Dams Road, and I was thinking about this is where it happened, because it was. But I think I was live at the time. We were with James. Well, we're now on Zoe's Road, and I'm heading up towards Impala Plains. We're going to have a look at this beautiful afterglow of sunset in Impala Plains and see what might be there, if there aren't any people having their sundowners. But yes, tyre changes. Jenny was asking how many tyre changes, how many times I've had to fix the flats. I can't count, because it's not only the times here on WildEarth, of course, it's the times at home, the times of having 2 flats and only 1 spare. Oh gosh, I've had a nightmare in Zambia on the lower Zambezi with a pickup that had road tires, and I had to use this vehicle for building material. It was a Nissan, fancy metallic green blue with fat rims, with road low profile tires and plastic trim everywhere. And slowly but surely the Mapani felt and the Dick Christakis and the bumps and the hyenas and everything took a lot of the plastic trim off, but those tires didn't survive. And I remember being stuck in the lower Zambezi National Park in the heat of the day. It was 11 o'clock in the morning. We should have been home for brunch by then, and we were still probably 10 kilometers from the gate to the national park, and still another 10 kilometers from camp. And while 20 kilometers doesn't sound like much, in that environment it takes you 3 hours to drive 20 kilometers. And I had 2 flats and 1 spare. Those silly low profile road tires to drive in the game reserve. I just drove all the way to the nearest camp on the flats. almost drove the rubber off of the rim on those dirt roads. Pulled into the nearest camp and said, do you mind giving us a lift back to camp by boat, because we were all on the same river, on the Zambezi River. And they drove us back, they took us back to camp in time for brunch on the boat. And I picked up the other vehicles to go, 2 other vehicles to go and rescue just 1 vehicle. Unbelievable. So I've changed a lot of tyres in a lot of different circumstances, but I think there's one tyre change that will forever stay in the minds of many, and that is the dreaded lug nut incident. That wasn't a dreaded, it was a comical. Hello Impala. So we're not going to shine on the Impala, we're just going to dim the lights as we go past this herd. Sorry children. Squeeze it on. Spaghetti Junction on Pindance Road. And Tara and I had a flat. I think I was driving, Tara was on camera. Not this Tara that's in final control, but Tara who's doing a PhD on leopards with Will in Leidenburg at the Black Leopard Camp, or the Ingwe Leopard Research Project. And I think by then we'd already established a little bit of competition, and I hope that you're going to carry it through, because it's up to you, the viewers out there, to carry this through if the guys ever get a flat. And we've got a lot of new tyres on these cars, so fortunately we're pretty good. We've been doing pretty well without punctures of late. But if it ever happens in the future, just remind our guys that they're under the clock when they're changing it, and it doesn't have to be Formula 1 fast, but I think there's some times that are recorded somewhere that have to be beat. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've got to stop here. There's another vehicle coming along. I'm just going to switch things off so that they can get past. If you excuse me for a moment. Who are you? I see a Land Rover. James, it's you.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
I saw it was an Andy, and I thought there's only one other Andy. Fine, and you?
Have you had a good drive?
Oh, fantastic drive, and you?
Marvelous.
Good.
An elephant.
Yes.
Good.
Big bull.
Big bull.
Oh, beautiful. Crossed over into Little Gowrie.
As you were. See you later.
Good.
Okay.
Catch you later. Wunderschön. Fancy bumping into you. Our own vehicle. Okay, where was I? Somewhere here. About here. Going to Impala Plains to see the afterglow of sunset. Open area we're about to enter now that has tremendous views over the escarpment to the west and beyond to the northwest into northern Limpopo province of South Africa. There's a wildebeest, which is essentially looking up beyond Hoedspruit, from Hoedspruit and beyond, north of the Drakensberg range. I'm going to switch off so we can see a bit of that glow. Now, if I don't know how much of that sky with Venus setting we can get, but there's a bit of Venus. We're almost at first quarter, so it's pretty difficult to get the moon tonight because it's almost directly overhead, being close to first quarter. If not first quarter, I think we're just a little bit off. That beautiful western sky. And if it were daylight, we'd be able to see, to the bottom left of the screen would be the northern ridge of the Drakensberg Mountains. And this open area that is below us, where this wildebeest is, Just try and bounce some light off of him. Not shining exactly on him, but almost where he is. I remember there was a cheetah and a cub that were here, and there was also the usual herd of impala that normally live on this open area. And they eventually chased them, and it eventually turned out that the cub was the one that killed the impala. But they were lying in this little area just off of the road that used to be the old road, I think it was, and great interaction. Those rare moments when we saw cheetah here in Djuma. Good night, Mr. Wildebeest. Could have been Brian's dad even. He's the only wildebeest hanging around here at the moment. For words now. Impala plains heading up to Sandy Patch, the area where we used to see Sandy Patch, the lioness, and her little ones. And sadly, none of them made it. But we loved them nonetheless when we did see them, especially when it was the Sandy Patch and the one cub. When I first saw them, there were 3 tiny little cubs. Almost where we saw Bula this morning, in fact in exactly the same place, except up on Gari Katlan and on the road itself, as they headed down into that drainage line where we found Bula again. It was the first and the only time I ever saw them. There was 3 cubs, and then the second time was somewhere up here. I saw them as 2 cubs, and then for quite some time it was just her, the lioness, the old lioness that we called Sandy Patch, and her one young male cub. And I remember that one day she had a limp. I don't know whether it was a thorn or something. She had a limp. And she went after some giraffe calves. There was some giraffe with some youngsters. It wasn't very successful, or wasn't a very energetic hunt. It was more just a chase than anything else. And I think that's probably the last time we saw him. Impala here. There was something just off to the side of them. A lot of people have been asking, and I've kind of been dodging the question, where that silly Canadian magnetic monkey is. If I knew, I'd tan his hide, I promise you. But he's been AWOL now for a couple of days. And I've turned Jigger upside down. I've turned my Land Rover upside down, and I've turned my room upside down. dying moments of my last PM sunset safari for the time being. I'm going to put this down for a bit. I want to turn around and talk to you. Might have something in the road. I am so indebted to the viewers out there that have been part of my life since I first began, and those of you who've come on board since I first began and have become as close to me as friends could be, albeit not even really meeting physically, but there are friendships and associations, and there are things that have happened between us over the years that are unforgettable. I have had untold generosity shown toward me from so many viewers out there, and my gratitude is unquestionable. For the time being, I just need to be moving along and doing something else right now. And WildEarth has been part of my life for the better part of the last 6 years, and I've even made a point of having my life available if I've ever been needed. And Graham has known that, and I think, as Will mentioned last night on Fireside Chat, that there might be times when they need somebody, and I'll be here for that. And I'll gladly come and do a couple of guest drives and continue what I'm doing today, driving around and reminiscing about old times, because we've done only a fraction. I thought I'd get around the whole of Djuma. We've barely scratched the surface. There's a lot out here that I've shared with you. There's a lot out here I'd like to share with you again in the future. I'm going to be home in the Timberwart, and I hope to be sharing some of that with you in some way, somehow, if there's a way that I can put that out there to show you what I'm experiencing back home in the Timberwart, the lilies that I have, the insects. I've got my euphorbias coming into flower. That is going to be phenomenal. So, I don't know what the future holds. The universe is there. But I know it'll guide me to the right place. I can't just say thank you. I can't say goodbye. I can't say anything that is fine. But I just can say I love you all. I really do. When I say I love you lots at the end of every drive, I really mean it, because it's the fact that you're out there and you support us in our drives, and you send us the questions, and you make us think, and you provide us with information. Just this very act of interacting with you on a daily basis has been such a pleasure, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of your lives. I'm even more grateful that I've been able to present it to you in a way that has been pleasant. My name is Marc, and I'm signing off from WildEarth for a little while. I might see you from the Timberwart. Andrew, welcome back from leave. Thanks for this afternoon. I want to thank Brian and Liam for their camera work, and Jason, who's not here right now. Thanks to the crew back at camp, to the hiddens, behind the scenes, like Pete Bright and Alex Voss, Graham and Emily, I love you both dearly. Will Fox and Carol, thanks for your support. And so long for now. Lahitraot. I'll be seeing you. Love you lots. Bye.